All Buddhas and all ordinary beings are nothing but the one mind. This mind is beginningless and endless, unborn and indestructible. It has no color or shape, neither exists nor doesn't exist, isn't old or new, long or short, large or small, since it transcends all measures, limits, names, and comparisons. It is what you see in front of you. Start to think about it, and immediately you are mistaken. It is like the boundless void, which can't be fathomed or measured. The one mind is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between Buddha and ordinary beings, except that ordinary beings are attached to forms, and thus seek for Buddhahood outside themselves. By this very seeking, they lose it, since they are using Buddha to seek for Buddha, using mind to seek for mind. Even if they continue for 1,000,000 eons, they will never be able to find it. They don't know that all they have to do is put a stop to conceptual thinking, and the Buddha will appear before them, because this mind is the Buddha, and the Buddha is all living beings. It is not any less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor any greater for being manifested in Buddhas. This pure mind, which is the source of all things, shines forever with the radiance of its own perfection. But most people are not aware of it, and think that mind is just the faculty that sees, hears, feels, and knows. Blinded by their own sight, hearing, feeling, and knowing, they don't perceive the radiance of the source. If they could eliminate all conceptual thinking, this source would appear, like the sun rising through the empty sky and illuminating the whole universe. Therefore, you students of the Tao who seek to understand through seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing, when your perceptions are cut off, your way to mind will be cut off, and you will find nowhere to enter. Just realize that although mind is manifested in these perceptions, it is neither part of them nor separate from them. You shouldn't try to analyze these perceptions or think about them at all, but you shouldn't seek the one mind apart from them. Don't hold on to them or leave them behind, or dwell in them or reject them. Above, below, and around you, all things spontaneously exist, because there is nowhere outside the Buddha mind. When most people hear that the Buddhas transmit the teaching of the one mind, they suppose that there is something to be attained or realized apart from mind, and they use mind to seek the teaching, not realizing that mind and the object of their search are one. Mind can't be used to seek mind. If it is, even after millions of eons have gone by, the search will still not be over. Suppose that a warrior forgot he was already wearing his pearl on his forehead and sought for it somewhere else. He might search through the whole world without finding it. But if someone simply pointed it out to him, the warrior would immediately realize that the pearl had been there all the time. In the same way, if you students of the Tao are mistaken about your own mind, not recognizing that it is the Buddha, you will look for it somewhere else, indulging in various practices and hoping to attain something. But even after eons of diligent searching, you won't be able to attain the Tao. These methods can't be compared to the elimination of conceptual thinking, when you understand there is nothing that has absolute existence, nothing to hold on to, nothing to depend on, nothing to dwell in, nothing subjective or objective. When you prevent the rise of conceptual thinking, you will be free men, And this just means you will realize that the Buddha has always existed in your own mind. Eons of striving will turn out to be wasted effort. Just as when the warrior found his pearl, he simply found what had been hanging on his forehead all the time, and his discovery had nothing to do with his efforts to find it elsewhere. Therefore the Buddha said, I didn't attain a single thing through supreme, perfect enlightenment. It was because he was concerned that people wouldn't believe this, that he taught by less direct methods. This statement of his isn't idle chatter. It expresses the highest truth. Your true nature is not lost in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It was never born and can never die. It shines through the whole universe, filling emptiness, one with emptiness. It is without time or space, and has no passions, actions, ignorance, or knowledge. In it there are no things, no people, and no Buddhas. It contains not the smallest hairbreadth of anything that exists objectively. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, radiant beauty, absolute reality, self-existent and uncreated. How then can you doubt that the Buddha has no mouth to speak with and nothing to teach, or that the truth is learned without learning? For who is there to learn? It is a jewel beyond all price. When a thought suddenly flashes in your mind, and you recognize its illusory nature, then you can enter into the state of all the Buddhas of the past. Not that the Buddhas of the past really exist, or that the Buddhas of the future have not yet come into existence. Above all, don't wish to become a future Buddha. Your only concern should be, as thought follows thought, to avoid clinging to any of them. Nor should you wish to be a Buddha right now. If a Buddha arises, cut him off instantly. Don't cling to him for even a single moment, because 1,000 locks couldn't shut him in, nor 100,000 feet of rope bind him. I will now explain how to free yourselves of that Buddha. Consider the sunlight. You may say that it is near, yet if you pursue it from world to world, you will never catch it. You may say that it is far, yet you can see it right before your eyes. Chase it, and it always eludes you. Run from it, it is always there. From this example you can understand how it is with the true nature of all things, and from now on there will be no need to grieve or worry about such things. Now, please don't think that when I said you should cut off the Buddha, I was being profane, or that when I compared him to the sunlight, I was being pious. In Zen we don't admit either the profanity of the first or the piety of the second. Nor do we think that the first is Buddha-like and the second ignorant. The entire visible universe is the Buddha. So are all sounds. Hold fast to one principle, and all the others are identical. On seeing one thing, you see all things. On perceiving any individual's mind, you perceive all minds. Glimpse one truth, and all truth is present in your vision, for there is nowhere at all which is devoid of the truth. When you see a grain of sand, you see all possible worlds, with all their vast rivers and mountains. When you see a drop of water, you see the nature of all the waters of the universe. Furthermore, in thus contemplating the totality of phenomena, you are contemplating the totality of mind. All these phenomena are intrinsically empty, yet this mind they are identical with is not mere nothingness. It does exist, but in a way too marvelous for us to comprehend. It is an existence that is beyond existence, a non-existence that is nevertheless existence. Thus we can encompass all possible worlds, numberless as grains of sand, with our one mind. Then why talk of inside and outside? Since honey is naturally characterized by sweetness, it follows that all honey is sweet. To speak of this honey as sweet and that honey as bitter would be ridiculous. That is why we say that emptiness has no inside or outside. It arises by itself, spontaneous and absolute. Ordinary beings are the Buddha, just as they are. The Buddha is one with them. Both have the same nature. The phenomenal universe and nirvana, activity and stillness, all have the same nature. So do all possible worlds, and the state that transcends all worlds. The beings that pass through the 6 stages of existence, those who have undergone the 4 kinds of birth, all the worlds with their vast mountains and rivers, enlightenment and delusion, all of them are the same. When I say that they all have the same nature, I mean that their names and forms, their existence and non-existence, are empty. The vast world systems, uncountable as the sands of the Ganges, are all contained in the one boundless, empty, radiant mind. How then can there be Buddhas who save, or ordinary beings who must be saved? If the true nature of all things is the same, how can such distinctions be real?